that I mentioned earlier, copied earlier. If I those platforms at the end of the show, you have click view stream, and there it is. All right.
Operate across several markets at the moment.
I really think that's why Walmart earnings were so instructive last week, because as Marissa said, you need
day, we're going to be able to complete the course in, say, 2 or 3 weeks time, right? So after we finish, let's say, for example, we'll take the entire month of September to complete the bookkeeping course, then everybody's going to be ready to participate in the tax course for business, right? Because if you have knowledge in books, it's really, really going to be helpful for you to learn tax preparation business, because it's very related. So what you use in the tax prep for business is the P&L and the balance sheet, right? So if you already know that, then you're going to be in the best position to learn tax preparation, right? So especially because na-mention ko na to before with the other class that it's very lucrative, no, to have a career na bookkeeper ka na slash tax preparer, because in the accounting world, tax preparer is viewed more or viewed more than the bookkeeping side, right? Mas mataas yung charging sa US tax prep. And even if you apply to an accounting firm in the US, if you have tax skills, mas mahal yung rate mo, right? I'm basing that on my own personal experience. So, and in fact, some actually graduate from doing books to eventually fully transitioning into tax prep. Kasi mas madali actually ang tax prep kasi sa bookkeeping, right? Mas magulo kaya actually ang bookkeeping, right? But it's a good stepping stone. If you know books and you can do tax, medyo madali yung possibility for you to get hired by a tax firm. Or even if you don't get hired, you can actually do both bookkeeping and tax as a practitioner, right? Later on, we will cover about PTIN, because this is not the avenue for that. It's so easy to get a PTIN for you to be able to prepare a tax, right? And then we have a partner already where if you want to decide to be a tax preparer as well of your bookkeeping client, we can help you with that, right? Because there is a software that we can use and an eFin that we can use as well to e-file the return before the IRS, right? Some of you may have the questions on what e-file is, what eFin is. Don't worry, that's something that we will cover in the tax prep course. So if you guys are interested in that, just stick around, because again, once we're done with the bookkeeping class, we will proceed immediately into the tax preparation course for business. Okay? So much for that. Sabi niya, hiring kami guys, staff accountant, PSTG, Cebu base, 1,200 to 1,400. Ako, baka mag-apply na kayo. Mamaya na. Mamaya na kayo mag-research kaya niyan sa apply for the job opening in the firms that she's connected with, right? So having said that, that was those were two announcements, right? So announcement on actually three. Announcement on co-hosting, later on co-presenter, and then the tax prep, right? So we're already good with that. Okay naman, naintindihan naman. So again, now moving forward, we'll have 2-hour session for bookkeeping, right? From 7 to 9. And then once we're done, hopefully we're going to be able to complete the course by end of September. So October, we'll start with business tax preparation. All right, are you guys excited? You're okay? You're still good? You're still okay? Also, we're live, according to Andre, on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you to Andre for the initiative. So people can actually watch the recorded sessions as well in YouTube and Facebook right away, because sometimes it takes time for Zara or Marilu to post the recorded session. But if you're on Facebook or in YouTube, you can also join us there or watch the recorded session from there. Okay. Do I miss anything, guys? Is there anything you want to raise? Suggestions, questions, reactions to all the things that I've said? Or are we good? Are we good? Or I think we're good.
All good.
Alrighty. So let me start my screen. Hopefully tomorrow mayroon na mag-co-present. And also, if you guys are already, or anybody who would want to interject me because you feel so strongly about sharing something based on personal experience, or or you just really feel like sharing anything, please feel free to raise your hand and I'll acknowledge you, okay? Alrighty, so now let me share my screen. So tonight we're gonna be continuing where we left off last night, right? So a little bit of recap lang muna tayo, just to check if you guys were able to retain the lessons that we covered yesterday. Ano nga uli yung mga characteristics ng bookkeepers? Type na lang kayo sa chat. Let's see. Meron bang na-retain? Ano yung mga characteristics? Honesty, integrity. What else? Professionalism. What else? Objectivity. Right. So apat yun, diba? But it should not be limited to 4. Sabi lang yun ni QuickBooks. But there are a lot of qualities that a bookkeeper should possess, right? It's not limited to 4. Could be, detail-oriented. It could be, what else? Yeah, basta maraming dapat na good qualities tayo. Should not be limited to 4. But sabi ni QuickBooks yesterday, we should have honesty, integrity, professionalism, and was it objectivity? Right. So if you're following, you should be able to see this. If you go to the training tab in QBO and you hit continue, it should lead us to where we left off. Right. So yesterday we left off on the 4, was it 4 or 5 responsibilities of a bookkeeper, right? So bookkeeping basics pa din tayo. And let's see if it remembers. Right. So what about the responsibilities of bookkeepers? Meron bang may nakaalala? Right. So these are the responsibilities of a bookkeeper. We record financial statement of financial transactions, reconcile bank accounts, manage accounts receivable and accounts payable, work with tax preparers, and assist with tax compliance and general financial statements. So these are the 5 responsibilities of a bookkeeper. Hindi ganun kadami, right? On our day 1, we have already emphasized the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant, right? So bookkeeper is a component of an accountant's role. Mas malaki yung scope ng pagiging accountant because now you you analyze the transactions, you provide advice, right? But as a bookkeeper, we're limited, right? We're limited to these 5, but there are times, right, when we are employed as a bookkeeper by a firm wherein we're given other tasks, maybe not even bookkeeping related tasks, only because we're paid on a salary basis. So our employers would want to maximize our time. So we're given other tasks that may not be related to any of the 5, right? And sometimes you may even go beyond that, right? You do analysis, and it's an accounting role already. Maybe you can do, or you're doing fractional CFO services already, right? Management reporting is fractional CFO. So anything that goes outside of it is likely the role of an accountant. And if you're already doing it and you feel like you're doing a good job with it, then and you've been in the firm or you've been servicing your client for quite some time, then you may want to think of asking for a raise, right? That's a time you can, courageously ask for a raise because you're no longer doing the work of a bookkeeper. You're going beyond that, right? So after you generate the financial statements, that's likely where your role ends as a bookkeeper, right? So you cannot generate the financial statements if you don't record the financial transactions, right? So also the way you record the financial transactions will have a significant impact on financial statements, right? If you're not recording the financial transactions correctly, completely, and accurately, you will have an erroneous financial statements, right? So related yan silang dalawa. Even reconciling bank accounts, if you don't do reconciliation of bank accounts, your financial statements again would be a mess, right? It's not gonna represent the true picture of the performance and position of the client's financials, right? And all the more, if you don't manage accounts receivable correctly, it will also have impact on the financial statements. Now, again, the financial statements will be an output that the tax preparers will use, right? So that's why you will likely work with a tax preparer if you're a bookkeeper, right? But then again, you can be the bookkeeper and you can be the tax preparer too. And that's what we're hoping to do in Borderless Accountant, turning you in, more than just a bookkeeper, but also a tax professional. Right. So having said that, we're going to move on to the next lesson, which is the ethical responsibilities. Right. So this would be an emphasis on those four ethical responsibilities, namely, again, honesty, objectivity, confidentiality, and professionalism. All right. So bookkeeping ethics. As a bookkeeper, you will be trusted with sensitive information and must have a strong sense of ethical responsibility. So let's hear it from Luis. Napanood na ba natin to? Remind me if we have already. I don't think so, right?
As a bookkeeper, I sometimes encounter ethical questions that require careful consideration and explanation. Most of the time, these questions come from an innocent place and can be resolved through open and honest communication with clients. For example, I've had to explain the difference between treating someone as an employee versus a contractor. Those are the types of topics that I'll discuss with the clients to help them understand what they should do. Only one time did I experience something that felt blatantly unethical. I noticed an office manager paid an invoice of a significant amount to herself. And when I asked her about it, she told me that it was money that was owed to her and I should go ahead and send it. Well, I decided to ask the owner of the business, and he didn't know about it. This is where our role becomes crucial. We must always remain objective and unbiased in our assessments of these situations. Being ethical is also about protecting financial data and keeping things confidential. Employees, family members, even customers will sometimes ask about financial states of business. I simply say, I can't disclose any financial information. I know my clients are trusting me with their private information, and I would never do anything to jeopardize their faith in me or the success of their business.
Right. So na-mention doon yung one example that Luis experienced was a question from the employer between the difference between a contractor and an employee, right? Alam niyo ba yun? Difference ng employee versus contractor in the US landscape? Who knows? Okay, let's hear from you guys. Who knows the difference between an employee and a contractor? Kung kayo si Luis, how would you answer the client? Come on, guys. Meron ba mag-volunteer? Anybody who wants to raise a hand or mag-type into the chat? Right. Employee receives full benefits while contractor pay for themselves. Employer issues W-2 to employees. Right. Good job, Juvie and Jocelyn. What else? Adele, do you wanna?
Yeah, just to add there that the employer issues W-2 and for a contractor, it's 1099.
Perfect. So W-2 will be for employees, 1099, particularly 1099 NEC for a contractor. And it's not always all the time that the contractor receives a 1099 NEC, only when the payment was above 600 for the year, right? So required na si IRS, si business to issue 1099 NEC to a contractor. Follow-up question. If we are an employee, if we are hired by a bookkeeping or a tax firm in the US and we're based in the Philippines, are we an employee or are we a contractor?
Contractor.
Right, we're a contractor. Do we get a 1099 NEC? Or should we get a 1099 NEC if that's the case, if we are the contractor? Or if we are a contractor? Why not?
We don't have any item.
Why not? Why don't we get a 1099 NEC for a contractor? We're not an employee.
Good question. Basing according to the US law, if you're a contractor, you should have like a tax ID number in the US. And since that you're not from the US, then you're not gonna definitely get a 1099.
Correct. Who was that? Was it
Oh, it's me. Sorry.
I
King
don't see
Arthur.
or King Arthur. Yeah, I knew it. It's the name's the voice is familiar. I just forget the name, right? But thank you, King. So you have to have a social security number or an ITIN. That means you are a US taxpayer before you get a 1099 NEC. If we don't, we fill out a form W8BEN, right? So we provide them our Philippine TIN just for their reference, right? They keep that for record keeping in case, they get audited by the IRS, they can support something. They have a supporting document that they are paying someone overseas, right? So that's 1099. And why would an employee or why would a businessman prefer to have a contractor versus an employee? What could be a possible reason there? Why would an employer hire a contractor instead of an employee? Benefits, right? So benefits, yung Social Security and Medicare. Kalahati nun, parang sa Philippines din, kalahati ng social natin, di ba? At saka Pag-ibig and PhilHealth is shouldered by our employer. Ganun din sa US, right? So, at saka maraming work involved yan. Kasi kailangan nila mag-subscribe to a payroll provider. Also, 1099 W-2, if we're a bookkeeper, we are most likely in charge of issuing the W-2s and 1099s, right? And in QuickBooks, meron doon option where we can file the 1099 NECs to the IRS so that those could be issued to the contractor. W-2 kung employer is using the QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks Payroll, right? But if they're using other providers such as ADP, what else? Basta maraming payroll provider, whoever is a payroll provider will provide the W-2, right? But kung 1099 NECs yan, and QuickBooks yung accounting software ni client, it can be done in QuickBooks Online. It has to be e-filed, right? And the deadline for that is every January 31st, right? Kailangan mag-issue si employer or si business ng 1099 sa kanyang mga contractors kasi gagamitin din yan ng mga contractor to file their tax return, right? Kaya may deadline si IRS at hindi yan na-file on time, may penalty yan. And that's what we do also as bookkeeper. Part of what we do on the year every year end is to issue 1099 dun sa mga qualified to receive 1099. Right. So other than that, why it is important that we possess honesty in our dealings with the client is that if we are a bookkeeper, we're also going to be trusted with our bank accounts, right? So if you've seen this, some banks are already linked in QBO, so the bank feeds are linked into QuickBooks, but there are times wherein the client would not do that. So they may ask you to log on to their bank account, online bank account, access to download the statements. So that alone is a position of trust, right? So you're given access to their online account. right? So baka gamitin niyo mag-transfer kayo, 'di ba? From the bank account. So mahirap na. Credit card information, right? You may also have access to those. So if the client is already giving you those information, that means the client is trusting you, right? Nakuha niyo na yung loob ng client for the client to be able to provide you those information. And may ibang client nga, yung bookkeeper pa yung nagbabayad ng mga contractor, right? Like they log on to Wise or whatever payment gateway the client is using, and then si bookkeeper na yung nagpo-process ng payment. So again, it's a position of trust, so that if we don't have if we are corrupt in our practices, we're not going to be a successful bookkeeper, right? So that is very important. Alrighty, let's move on. Components of ethics. So pansin nyo, we are emphasizing on these because it's really important. Sabi ko na, di ba? While competence is good, but competence and character are more important. So components of ethics. Alam na natin yan. Pabalik-balik na, Sharo. Let's hear it from you guys. Sinong gusto magbasa nito? Right, Jeneline.
Honesty. As a bookkeeper, you must act with integrity and honesty. Here's what that looks like in practice.
All right, thank you, Jeneline. All right, you may want to continue with this, Jeneline. Just the 3 bullet points.
Report financial data in an accurate and timely manner. Own any mistakes and do everything you can do to fix them. Be open and transparent with your client about the state of their finances.
All right, thank you. So that's honesty. Important thing is that if we make a mistake, we own it, and then we tell the client as soon as we realize that our mistake, so that anything that needs to be done to correct that mistake or to fix that mistake can be done, right? Minsan kasi tinatago natin, and then huli na lahat, and worse, client na yung nakadiscover. So we own a mistake, right? So a lot of employers will appreciate you more if you're being upfront about your mistake. Just don't do it twice because you're not learning, right? But if you do it the first time kasi hindi mo alam, or it was an honest mistake, or it was something that you're not knowledgeable about, could also be a lapse in judgment. So for as long as you own it, you're eventually going to be learning from it, right? And be open and transparent with your client about the state of their finances. So if you're seeing a lot of negatives in the client's books, right? A lot of expenses that may not necessarily be business related. If there is an occasion where the client asks for your opinion, or there is a point wherein you can communicate this to the client, then be open about it, right? Like, say, client, I've been seeing a lot of meals expenses. It's been charged to your credit card, and as per the IRS regulation, a business expense is only meals expense is only allowed when it's with a client, right? Or it's conducted in pursuit of business, right? So I'm seeing a lot of meals here. I may have to go through with this. I may have to go through these transactions with you so that you can help me classify which ones are personal and which ones are business, right? Yan yung usual na nangyayari. If you've been doing bookkeeping for quite some time and you see there are a lot of meals, and you happen to have no knowledge in taxes, right? Tendency is you may just put that all as meals, right? Hindi yan lahat meals. It could be expense in the books, but it's not gonna be an expense as far as taxes is concerned. Only 50% if it's conducted in pursuit of business. If personal yan, it's gonna be charged as a personal expense to the client, likely in a drawing account, right? So that's very important that we also communicate those things with the client. Right, next is objectivity. Who wants to read this out? Nagtampo na yung iba, kasi hindi na tawag. Okay, there. Marvic, go ahead. Sana si Marvic.
Good evening, sir.
Evening po.
Objectivity. Having accurate financial records is vital to the success of any business. To achieve accuracy, bookkeepers must act objectively at all times. To maintain objectivity, here are things you should never do as bookkeeper.
Go ahead.
Never take a job that might pose conflict of interest. When persons, individuals' interests raise a question about their ability to act or make decisions or judgments objectively. Never allow another party to influence your findings. Never let personal bias get in the way of performing your duties.
Right. Right. Sino dito mga experienced bookkeeper? Was there any situation wherein you encounter anything related to these bullet points? Was there a time when there was a conflict of interest or that your personal bias kind of get in the way? Sinong gusto mag-share? Wala nang gusto mag-share. Charet. Right. So conflict of interest, it happens, right? Maybe not in a US context, like our US client, because, or I don't know, maybe if you're working multiple jobs in multiple firms, that could pose a conflict of interest, right? Personal bias. I'm not sure if it's bias, but Filipinos were generally very submissive, right? Hindi tayo assertive, right? So pag kunyari, the situation is sasabihin ni client, oh, i-record mo lahat ng expense as meals expense. Kahit alam mo na hindi naman talaga lahat yun business expense, because sinabi ni client, gagawin mo kahit alam mong mali, right? And this is where your objectivity would have to play a really good use, right? Kasi baka mag-alangan tayong sabihan si client na hindi dapat because baka last day na natin with the client, right? But most of the clients are discerning clients, right? They would not be where they are if hindi sila marunong mag-isip, right? And hindi sila marunong kumilatis kung ano yung tama at mali, right? And it's also about how you say it, right? And I would always say, no, sometimes it's not about what we say, it's how we say it. It's very, very important. The way we say it can make a difference in what we say, right? So in that case where we know that hindi naman business yung transaction, we can tell the client that, hey, client, this appears to be personal expenses, and the IRS guidelines on this is it should be personal, right? It should be charged to drawing accounts. And the only meals that we should be recording in your books are those that are with the client or with a client, or again, in the pursuit of your business, right? So that's what I would have to do. And if you insist on doing or sabihin ni client, no, I would want it charged to all to the business. And you can say to the client that, hey, we know what's wrong and right? And if you are telling me to record this as business expense, let me just tell you that there will be consequences, right? If the IRS audits your financial, it's not going to stand, right? And you may be faced with penalties and interest, right? So while I've already informed you what's the right thing to do, and if you insist on doing, the other way, then let's put that on record, right? Let's put that on record. So hindi mo na lang pwedeng sawayin si client kung yun yung gusto niyang gawin, right? But again, you have to be objective, right? you follow what the instruction of the client, but you have to disclose to the client the possible ramification of that action, right? And then you put that on record. Maybe you will send the client an email just to put things in, ang tawag dito sa corporate is you cover your back or you cover your ASS, right? So you have something to cover yourself if in case balikan ka ng client. Sabihin ni client, o bakit mo na-record to as personal expenses or business expenses when you know that it's business, right? And you can always go back to that because you put that on record. Hey, client, I sent you this email before we had this conversation. If you look up your sent, or if I refresh your memory on this date, as per my as per my email, we've discussed this, right? So that refreshes the client's memory without being defensive, right? Because you put that on record, right? And in these things, client will appreciate you more because ikaw yung parang konsensya niya, right? And that you're not a pushover, diba? Kasi kung ikaw ay yes ka lang ng yes sa client, that means you don't have the integrity, right? And if I am the businessman and my bookkeeper is yes lang ng yes, I will not have respect on you, right? Because you're a pushover, right? Yes ka lang ng yes. You may think your client likes you, but no. Deep inside, your client does not respect you because you say yes all the time, right? Wala kang tawag dito, wala kang paninindigan kumbaga, right? But again, if manindigan ka, but again, you do it courteously, professionally, walang emotions involved, right? Because again, it's a skill that you will learn eventually as you work. It's not about what we say, it's how we say it, right? And it's a skill that we need to develop, right? Especially if it's through email. Kaya conscious tayo pag, especially when we make comments, a chat, messenger, or whatever platform we're using, because sometimes we appear to be bossy or impolite, unfriendly because of what we type, right? Or what we send. Although kung sinabi natin yan in person, hindi naman talaga ganun kasi may tone, right? But if pag written yan, depende sa magbabasa, sa mood ng magbabasa, kung paano niyang i-interpret yan, right? So you have to be conscious, right? You have to say please, you have to say kindly, you have to put those adjectives or adverbs or whatever it is that would make your tone the way it is if you speak, right? So again, be careful with that. And again, it's a skill that you develop over time. Dami ko na sinabi, right? Ang topic lang naman is objectivity. Charet. All right. Nagets naman. Anybody who wants to add to that, or it was just too much information already. So let's move on. Next is professionalism. Who would want to take on this? Mylene, go ahead.
Professionalism. Business owners expect you to act professionally at all times. Acting professionally includes...
Go ahead.
Being courteous and considerate of the business owner's needs, avoiding any activity, personal or professional, that could bring shame to the profession or business, maintaining proper credentials, and keep up skills through continuing education.
All right. Thank you very much, Mylene. So being courteous and considerate, yan ang sinabi ko kanina, di ba? It applies to anybody. It could be with your colleagues, it could be with your friends, it could be with your client. Courtesy and being considerate it goes a long way. Avoiding any activity or personal or professional that could bring shame to the profession or business. Alam niyo na yan, like, doing or spending the client's business, spending client funds for personal purposes, it's a no-no, right? Gamitin yung credit card to book your own hotel or flight. You're in danger, right? And then maintaining proper credentials. So that's what we're doing. That's why we are here in this class, because we want to polish our skills and build credentials in the process, right? So once we have completed this course, we would all be ready to take on the test, right? Once we pass the test, we will get the badge, and that badge is a sign of competence, right? It may not necessarily mean you're competent, but it's a sign, it's a credential, right? And we never stop learning, right? We never stop learning. And the more that we learn, the more that we become valuable, right? So kung dati naging yung rate mo is maybe 5, you will the more that you earn credentials and the more that you upskill yourself, you'll go up to 10, 15, 20, 25, whatever. Because then you are already able to provide significant value to your client, right? Sometimes we mistake experience as credential, like not experience, length of time, length of service. Just because you've been with a client for 2 or 3 years, then you would feel entitled na to get a rate. May not necessarily be the case, right? Because it's also about value. What value do you provide? What value do you provide to the client, right? If you're not making anything that makes or that the client can see as valuable, then it may not be justifiable to ask for a rate, right? But if, let's say, classic example, bookkeeper ka ngayon, right, in a firm, you're learning these things and you're applying it in your job, and then you equip yourself with another skill, which is tax preparation, right? And nasabi ko na kanina, mas mataas yung rate ng tax preparer, right? So then you can tell your client, hey, I think I'm ready to do a tax preparation job or role, right? Can I take that? And what does that mean for me if I take that job, or if I take on that role? Does it mean I get a salary increase, or can we talk about it at least? What are my options, right? So then, because you're adding value, right? Because again, you're upskilling yourself and you're not stuck. You are continually educating yourself. All right. Next, I think this would be the last. Who wants to take on this? Kelly, go ahead.
Confidentiality. Client entrusts bookkeepers with very sensitive financial information, and a business owner must be able to trust that you will treat their data with the utmost care. What this means, never discussing anything with a client outside of the job, never using inside information of a client for personal gain.
Right. Guess it's very self-explanatory, right? So if you're trusted with sensitive information, you will do your very best and you'll do what it takes to protect those information, right? So do not disclose that to people outside of the organization, and more so, don't use that for your personal gain. Okay. So this is mahaba-haba. Anybody who wants to take on these from here to here? From here to here. Right. Who wants to take on these? Anybody? Yeah, King Arthur, go ahead.
What is your ethical responsibility? With your ethic responsibility in mind, how would you handle the following scenario? So one was setting the scene. So your client, Maxine, owns 2 thriving coffee shops. So she has plans to open a third shop, sometime in the next year. You've met and are friendly with her. Sorry, my eyes. Sorry, going back, you've met and are friendly with her whole family. You run into her brother, Matty, and he casually brings up the third shop. So Matty says, I'm so sorry. I'm so proud of Max. I couldn't believe how I can't believe how well her shops are doing. Is she ready, able to fund a new shop so soon?
Right. So, thank you there, King Arthur. So the scenario is, you are Maxine, or sorry, you are the bookkeeper and your client is Maxine, and you run into Marty. Marty is the brother of Maxine. And in that conversation, Marty casually ask you as a bookkeeper if Maxine is gonna be able to fund a new shop so soon. So parang doubtful yung brother, no? Sabi niya, kaya ng sister ko mag-open ng third coffee shop. Tapos ikaw yung bookkeeper, 'di ba? Alam mo yung financial standing ng client, right? So ang scenario is that kung ikaw yung bookkeeper, what would you say or how would you respond to Marty? Right? So let's make this A, B, or C. Anong mga sagot nyo? A, A. Okay.
A.
All right. Go ahead, Lori Lee.
Letter A, the first one. She's a great boss, but you understand that I cannot divulge any information about the business. This is because of the personal confidentiality agreement between between the client and the bookkeeper.
Right. Thank you, Lori Lee. But what's wrong with the other two answers? Like, I know, I'm so impressed with her. She's so smart. And I think a new shop is for sure going to happen. What's wrong with that line? Or maybe the third one. I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to talk to you. What's wrong with those?
The
Are
second
those
one,
not allowed to talk to you? Go ahead.
Because for me, if you answer the third one, you will giving the person a hint that there is something to that the parang sinasabi mo na meron, I neither confirm nor deny. Parang kino-confirm mo na din. Ayaw mo lang manggaling sa'yo. But the second one, I know she's so smart. Parang kino-confirm mo rin na meron na. So, much better na wag ka na lang magsabag. Because of the confidentiality nung business and yung agreement mo sa kanya as a bookkeeper na merong confidentiality, much better na wag ka magsabi ng anything.
Right. Thank you. Rowena has got something to share. Go ahead.
Yes. Also, if you pick the second one, did you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you well.
Yes.
We can hear you well.
Yes. The second one is, gaya na sinabi ni before, we cannot give any information about our client, lalo na sa financial stability ng ating client sa ibang taon na kagaya po ni Marty. And then sa pangatlo rin po, we can still talk to Marty, but the confidentiality of the client will still be between the client and the bookkeeper.
Right. Thank you, Rowena. And I guess you guys are all correct. We have yet to find out, right? Because we have to make the choice. But the third one, I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to talk to you. Sabi naman yun, no? I'm sorry, I talk to my hands because my ears won't listen. Ganon. Charet. And then I know I'm so impressed with her. She's so smart, and I think a new shop is for sure going to happen. It sounds really good. Sounds really cool, right? But you're not being tactful, right? You're not being tactful. You're being tactless. Tactless ka, right? Well, you're trying to be friendly, but nadulas ka because kinonfirm mo that the third shop will be open, right? It's like saying yes to his question, right? The question is she really going to fund a new shop so soon? Is she really able to fund a new shop so soon? It's like saying yes. The second one is like saying yes, right? The other one of mine is like, I don't want to talk to you, right? And the first one, she's a great boss, but you understand that I can't divulge any information about the business. right? He's being tactful and respectful at the same time, right? So this must be the right answer. Let's find out. Sabit na ba natin? Baka mali, ano? Dami pa naman nating opinion.
Tama po yan.
Okay, tama nga. Di ba? Nakakahiya naman pag hindi tama. Sorry. I believe a great job. You upheld your bookkeeper oath and told Marty that you weren't able to disclose confidential information. You can still talk to him. Just be careful not to discuss any specific financial or other sensitive information. Great. Right. So let's continue. Who want to take on these? Meron gusto mag-volunteer? Right, Adele, go ahead.
Remember, a business owner expects and trusts that you will practice confidentiality with all business data. As you've seen, ethical responsibility is critically important for a bookkeeper. Pledge to take the following oath as you move forward with your bookkeeping career. So
All right.
do we need
Dapat
Like that.
nakaganon tayo. Charet. Sige
Okay.
lang. Basahin mo na lang din, Adele.
Bookkeeper
Right.
oath. I will uphold the bookkeeper oath by choosing to act with honesty, objectivity, confidentiality, and professionalism in all interactions with my clients and on behalf of my clients to the best of my ability and judgment.
All right. Thank you, Adele. We appreciate you. So yeah, that's our oath. Again, we will uphold all those characteristics in order for us to become the best bookkeeper out there. Okay? Di naman mahirap, di ba? Mahirap lang kung taklesa tayo, no? Masyado tayong marites, masyado tayong maraming sinasabi. Doon tayo na, if we talk a lot, we could inadvertently disclose information that are confidential, right? So in anything, if we feel that we're not in a position to talk, the less talk, the less mistake, right? Right, now let's summarize your ethical response. So let's summarize our ethical responsibilities as a bookkeeper. Let's play this video. Let's watch this together.
Clients look for many qualities in a bookkeeper, with ethical responsibility at the top of the list. As a bookkeeper, your client's financial records are literally in your hands. To earn the level of trust the client is putting in you, it's your ethical responsibility to conduct yourself honestly, objectively, and professionally, while treating your client's files with the utmost confidentiality. Being ethical relates to all aspects of your job as a bookkeeper. It should guide your decision-making and underscore your compliance with the law. By putting ethics first, you can establish a strong reputation and build loyalty with your clients.
Right. So you realize how important our role, right, as a bookkeeper, and later on as a tax preparer. We have the financial information ng mga clients natin, right? And that's very, very important to be kept confidential, right? Kahit tayo man tayo, kahit sa side man natin, kung tayo yung business owner, we would want to be working with a professional bookkeeper, right? If alam natin yung bookkeeper ay may di magandang reputation, would we want to hire that bookkeeper? Of course not, right? Because our information is at stake. So ganun din yun. So reflection. I want to read this reflection. Any volunteer? Right, Janelle. Mag-echo tayo ngayon, Janelle. Go ahead, but try.
Reflection. Goodness.
Right.
I will give the to others.
Right, good job, Jane. Good try, Janelle, but it's causing some technical issues. So as a Janelle like sits right next to me. So why don't we call Maria Cristina? Go ahead, Christina.
Reflection. Okay, take a moment to consider how you would respond to this scenario. The dentist you work for had a busier than normal month. He asked you to keep some of the payments received off the books and to not show the bump in income. When you are ready, silly continue. So,
Right. So it's a reflection daw. Sabi dito, the dentist, oh, thank you, Christina. So the dentist you work for, dentist yung client mo, had a busier than normal month, meaning marami siyang income, right? And he asked you to keep some of the payments received off the books. Ayun yung ipa-declare. Diba? Sinong guilty dito? Sinong may na-encounter dito sa Pinas? And not to show the bump in income. So ito yung situation natin. Let's hit continue. I think we're ready. So, Christina, do you want to continue reading this?
okay. This type of request can be told to navigate. You want to make your client happy, but you don't want to do anything illegal or unethical. It's best to be honest with the dentist and explain that your oath as a bookkeeper prohibits you from accommodating the request. If your client pushes back, chances are it's not the last time that he will make a request like this. You have to ask yourself if this is the type of client you want to have.
Great. Thank you, Christina. So, sabi dito, it's a tough request to navigate, right? Because if you say yes, it's gonna open a can of worms, right? So once your client asks you this and you say yes, you will expect that he will ask you something similar in the future, right? Because you opened the floodgate, right? And then how do you also say no, right? Without risking your job as a bookkeeper for that client, right? Baka dahil nagmamatigas ka, terminate yung contract mo. It's a really tough situation, right? It's really tough. But the good news is, siguro ito pwedeng mangyari sa Philippines, right? But the good news is, in the US, bihira itong mangyari. Bakit? In the US, bihira yung cash transactions. Bihirang-bihira ang cash transactions. Right? Lahat doon, naka-Apple Pay, naka-credit card. Right? So, yung transactions doon, walang cash. Walang tao ang mga cash. Walang tao mga cash. Walang cash ang mga tao. They do electronic payments. Right? So yung income, like dentist, for example, yung income niya, it will be declared or it will be sent to a payment processor, right? Let's say card yan, MasterCard, Visa, or whatever. It's gonna go to a bank, right? So at the end of the year, yung Visa, yung payment processor, magsisend yan ng 1099K. Right? Doon nakalista lahat ng payment na pumasok para sa iyo. Like if you go to a grocery store, for example, di ba may mga terminal yan sila where you swipe your card? Right? Yung mga companies na yan yung magbibigay sa taxpayer or sa client nyo in the US ng 1099K. Ano yung 1099K? Naka-report din yan kay IRS. Right? So kung ang 1099K, ang sinabi doon, 100,000. Binigay yan sa'yo as a bookkeeper or a tax preparer. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, 100,000 to, gawin ko 50,000 lang. Hindi. Bakit? Naka-report na yan sa IRS. Right? So pag nag-file ng tax return si taxpayer, mahuhuli siya ng IRS. Right? Pag nahuli yan, penalty agad yan. Kasi very glaring yung mistake. Right? So pag may si client naman ay contractor din. Like for example, consultant, yung bookkeeping client nyo. Right? Makaka-receive siya ng 1099 NEC naman. Right? Yung 1099 NEC, diba? Contractor nga siya. So, in the US, bihirang nakaka-escape sa IRS. Kasi nga, lahat doon recorded. Ang nakaka-escape lang doon, yung cash. In the cash economy. But again, bihirang-bihira ang cash sa US. Magugulat yung cashier kapag nagbayad ka ng cash. Right? Kasi hindi na uso doon. Right? And I can tell because I was in the US. First time kong nag-US dati, wala akong cash. Wala. In my entire 45 days ata ako nandun, wala akong hawak na cash. I was paying using my phone. Apple Pay lahat, right? So, bihirang-bihira. Even yung mga nagtitinda sa California kasi merong doon sa tawag dito, sa Monica Pier, yung malaking beach yon. May mga Mexican doon nagtitinda ng mga mangga, mga fruits na mga parang sa atin street vendor. Pati yun sila may terminal to make electronic payment. So bihirang-bihira yung cash. So in your case, hindi yan a common scenario na ang tawag dito, na sadyang binabawasan yung income. Kasi gawin mo man yan sa books, makikita yan ng tax preparer. Right? Kasi like sa tax preparer, pag nakita namin yung business, we ask for supporting documents. Right? So saan dito yung 1099? Saan dito yung 1099K? Magma-matching kami ngayon. Ano yung nakalagay sa 1099 versus ano yung nakalagay sa books. Right? So kung mas malaki itong mga 1099s, we would ask questions. Bakit? Ano nangyari? Right? And if we're not happy with the answer, we will follow what's in the 1099. Right? So, ganun yun sa US. At saka, dito sa atin, di ba, ang client, let me know if you disagree with this, but I heard from my friends na may mga CPA firm na yung mga clients nila, bibigyan lang sila ng resibo towards the end of the year. Tapos sasabihin ng client, I only wanna pay the BIR 10,000 this month. Right? So yung accountant na yung bahala mag-manipulate ng kanilang tax return. Sa US, hindi mo pwedeng gawin yan. I-terminate ka ng tax firm. Right? You cannot do that. Right? You cannot brazenly do that. Right? Because sa US, ang tax firm or accounting firm ang nagte-terminate ng client. Right? Hindi ang client ang nagte-terminate ng kanilang bookkeeper or kanilang accountant. And accountants there are very well respected. Okay? So, napakataas ng tingin ng mga mga Americans sa kanilang mga accountants. Parang doctor yan sila or, talagang professional yung tingin nila. No? Hindi nila pwedeng diktahan. Right? Hindi na pwedeng sabihin na, ang laki naman ng tax ko. Hindi mo pwedeng babaan yan. Kasi kung it is what it is, you really have to pay that. Right? So, kaya maganda talaga mag-practice sa US, guys. Sobrang ganda, I'm telling you. So now that you have decided to take on this bookkeeping course, hopefully, ituloy-tuloy nyo na, right? Because it's really, really rewarding. And not only that, kung ano yung natutunan natin sa school, yun talaga yung na-apply, right? If you're a CPA in the Philippines and you've been practicing accounting here in the Philippines, you will witness or you will see for yourself the glaring difference between how it's done in the Philippines versus how it's done in the US. Mas ma-appreciate nyo kasi parang feeling nyo may chance pa kayong mapunta sa langit kapag nag-US tax kayo or nag-US bookkeeping. Pag nasa Pilipinas kayo, baka the chances of you entering the gates of heaven may be very, very slim. Right? If lagi nyo sinusunod yung kagustuhan ni client. So, bottom line, what I'm saying is that you're in the right track. You're studying US bookkeeping and then again later on US tax. You're in the right track. It's a career and it chooses nobody. It chooses anybody. It welcomes anybody. Right? Pwede ka maging tax preparer kahit hindi ka wala kang accounting background. Pwede ka maging bookkeeper kahit ang natapos mo engineering or kahit wala kang natapos at all. Right? Basta alam mo lang. Right? Diba sa mga social media may nakikita tayong meme. Kapag HR daw na Filipino, ang daming requirements. Pero pag direct client na US, ang tanong lang is, can you do the job? Or when can you start? Diba? And it's very true. It's very, very true. In my experience, and I've only been in the practice for the past 5 years, sobrang layo how we do it in the Philippines. And I wish we could learn from that, right? And that's why we also call ourselves borderless because we welcome anybody, right? We welcome anybody who wants to learn and, who wants to get into the practice because the US market is not discriminating at all. right? How do you feel about that? May mga reactions kayo? Tingnan naman natin. Huwag naman tayong sobrang seryoso. Right? Baka antokin kayo. Diba? May mga reaction dito. Mga reaction paper. Basahin natin yung reaction ni Ella. Ibang-iba po dito sa Pinas. Karamihan cash. Sa palengke na lang. Wala silang mga receipts. Tas cash talaga. Kaya estimate na lang. Mahirap ma-trace sa mga transactions. Very true. Kahit may GCash na, yung iba pa rin talagang cash basis. Nakaka-frustrate. Diba? Juvie, talaga parang doktor. Dito doctors parang God. Isang assessment lang sa patient. Paniniwalaan na. Oh. Parang ganun din sa sa yung tax preparer sa US. Kung tax preparer ka, ganito yung tax mo. Paniniwala yung client. So, parang nga tayong doktor. Professional talaga. Donna, leaving the meeting room muna. Need to log into work. Sige. Sige, Donna, enjoy your work. Mills, that is good to know po because I'm motivated to learn more. Yeah, learn tayo. There are tremendous opportunity in the bookkeeping and tax world in the US market. Kasi nga 'di ba ang laki ng market ng US. 500,000 people. Maybe even more than that. Right? So next, lesson 405, show what you know. It's time to show what you know. Using the resources referenced in this module, answer each of the questions about the content you've just learned. You will need to score 80% in order to continue. You will be able to retry this quiz as many times as necessary in order to receive a passing score. When you're ready, select start to begin. Sige, start natin. Tulungan niyo ako mag-answer baka hindi natin ito mapasa. Nakakahiya. So question number 1, who wants to read and including the choices? Sabay-sabay natin tong sagutin. All right, Ginalyn ulit. Go ahead. You're on mute, Jean. You have to
Sorry.
unmute yourself. No problem.
Which of the following tasks fall under a bookkeeper's role? Select all that apply. First, handle bank feeds and reconcile bank accounts. Manage accounts receivables and payables. Record financial transactions. And work with tax preparers and assist with tax compliance.
Okay. Tulungan na to, guys. Anong answer?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of
the
above.
Sige, try natin. All of the above. Sure tayo dyan, ha?
Yes, tama yan.
Recorded pa naman to. May ebidensya. Charet. Sige, sabit natin. Ayun, tama. Oh, correct. All of these are part of a bookkeeper's general responsibilities. Oh my God, napaka-attentive niyo, di ba? Sige, next naman. Second question. Can you read and please include all the choices too? Mylene, go ahead.
You are a bookkeeper for a music venue. The owner's son contacts you privately asking for financial information. How should you respond? You should not share any information and inform the owner of the request. You should provide the information he is requesting. He should provide only general information but not any financial reports. I think the first one. You should not share any information that inform the owner of the request.
All right. Do you guys agree?
Yes,
Yes.
po.
Yes
Okay.
po.
Yes po.
Okay. So as a bookkeeper, the owner's son contacts you privately.
Yes.
Not sharing information. Okay. So I'll agree with you. Let's take on the first choice. Ta-da. Good job. Correct. In order to keep financial data confidential, you should not share any information and should inform the owner about the interaction. Hingi tayo ng pahintulot sa may-ari ng business.
For the bookkeeper of a Chirap Truck office, you noticed that you recorded duplicate income from several invoices last month. make it seem like more funds were able to fix the issue and disclose the mistake to the owner. In which of the four key bookkeeping ethics elements does the scenario fall? Activity. Honesty.
All right, honesty. Sino yan? Sino tong nagsasalita?
Honesty, sorry. Ang ingay ko pala.
Hindi ka nakamute. All right, but thank you. Hindi ko na-catch yung name. Sino ba yun? Si Marlene. Si Charlene.
Charlene Obante.
All right, thank you, Charlene. So, ano ka daw? Bookkeeper ka ng chiropractor. So, you notice that you recorded duplicate income from several invoices last month. So, nag-double invoicing, making it seem like more funds were available. You fixed the issue and disclosed the mistake to the owner. Right, you own up to your own mistake. And which of the four key bookkeeping ethics element does this scenario fall? Sige nga. Aya, sunod ka ha. Ikaw magbasa sa fourth question. But for now, anong answer natin dito? Is it objectivity, honesty? Honesty? Honesty. All right, majority honesty. Do you think honesty?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, sige, let's submit. Ta-da! That's correct. Owning up to your mistake is part of practicing the principle of honesty. So 3 out of 5. Mukhang papasa tayo ngayon. Right, next, Aya, this is your turn.
Your client's accounts receivable is $6,750. What does that mean? Letter B, your client is owed $6,750 for services or goods they provided.
All right. Do you guys agree? If the accounts receivable is showing 6,750, what does that mean? A, the client owes 6,750, so si client pa yung may utang, or B, si client yung inutangan, or letter C, your client has 650 in revenue that has been paid to the company for work not yet performed. So parang ano to, ano tawag dito sa accounting? Income already, deferred income, diba? So it's a liability. Your client has 650 in revenue that has been paid to the company for work not yet performed. Deferred income, accrued expense naman. Pag income deferred, tama ba ako? Unearned income. See. So, anong sagot dito? Letter B. So B is si client yung inutangan, right? Sure, everybody's in agreement?
Yes
Okay.
po.
All right, nice work. Accounts receivable is defined as money that is owed to a business for providing a good or service. Last one. Sinong gusto magbasa? Mary Chris, go ahead.
Never using inside information of a client for personal gain is part of which ethical principle? Number 1, honesty, objectivity, confidentiality, or professionalism? The answer here is confidentiality.
All right, everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, kahit mamali natin to, 80% na tayo, so okay na
Yes.
tayo. But if we
You
can get
want
it
a perfect score.
right, sige, let's try. Majority C, submit. Oh my God, we got it all right. That is correct. Not using inside information for personal gain is part of the confidentiality principle because you are continuing to keep financial information private. Right. Good job, everybody. 5 out of 5. See your score, 100%. Give yourself a round of applause. Right? Galing-galing natin. Right? So yung magwa-watch nito, mag-answer ng kanilang alam na nila yung sagot, 'di ba? Makakapag-perfect din sila. You're a great singer, 100%, 'di ba? Right, so let's continue. Mayroon pa tayong ilang minutes? 42 minutes. Good job. Congratulations, you're one step closer to being a bookkeeper. Being a bookkeeper is about more than just numbers. Now you have a good grasp of what your role is as a bookkeeper and the ethical side of the profession. To receive a completion credit for this module, select Submit. All right, so let's claim that credit. You've completed this module. Right, great job. Great job, everybody. So, ano ba to? How do we navigate out of this? Right, so what is bookkeeping? We're done. Look at this. Introduction to Intuit Academy, that's already a check mark. Second check mark is what is bookkeeping? We're done. So I guess we'll spend the next 40 minutes tackling about the basics of accounting. So dito na, medyo madugo na to ha. But isn't it wonderful that QuickBooks start with ethics, right? So it starts with character rather than the competence. So that just shows that QuickBooks values character more than competence, right? Hindi competence muna before character. Character first before competence. Kahit sino man, right? Like ako personally, I would rather hire someone who's got the character, kahit wala pang competence. Kasi if you have a good character, you're very trainable. But if you have the competence, wala kang character, baka it may be a disaster, right? And minsan, when you have the competence, yung iba naman sobrang taas ng bilib sa sarili, ma-ego, right? Hirap turuan, right? Because all-knowing na, no? It's an attitudinal problem, right? And I mean, nobody wants to work for that person, right? Mas okay yung attitude because mabilis turuan, maganda turuan, right? So let's be that, right? Let's be competent and with a character. Hindi yung may competence tayo pero mayabang tayo, right? Alam yung attitude na alam natin lahat. Hindi. We will never know everything. There will always be things that we will not know and we need other people to help us in those instances, right? So, yon. Amazing, isn't it? Are we ready for the basics of accounting? Are you guys ready to bleed? All right, this is not going to be easy, but we're going to be navigating this together. We're all in this together. Sinong laking high school musical dyan? Wala. Walang mga high school musical babies nito. We're all in this together. Si Troy. Relate agad si Geraldine. Parang ka-age ko to si Geraldine talaga eh. At kilala na si Troy, si Gabriella. Kami lang ba ni Geraldine? Si Marie Chris din. Kami lang kakabili. Ang iba, ano ng Ella, Elsa? Kamikaze. Alright. Marami tayong ka-age dito. Pasayaw-sayaw pa tayo ng we're all in this together. Diba? Alrighty. So, tanda ko na pala. Bakit, Bien? Ano ba natandaan mo? Ibang ano na? Ibang kanta na? All right, so now let's move on to the accounting basics. I'm not sure we're going to be able to finish this today, but as usual, we are going to be continuing tomorrow where we would stop tonight, okay? Sabi dito kasi 60 minutes, but we only have barely 40 minutes. But let's start nonetheless. Right. Okay pa ba kayo? Okay pa naman? Di pa naman information overload? Di pa naman overwhelmed? We're still good, right? We're still 198 in the room. Isn't that amazing? Ang daming gusto matuto, right? So, lesson 1 out of 7 for accounting basics. Let's cover the overview. Who wants to read the overview? Any volunteer? Any volunteer? Si Miss Adele ulit. Miss Adele, bigyan naman natin ng chance si Joms. Joms na muna. Okay. Go ahead,
Hello
Joms.
po, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you po. Let's dive into the world of bookkeeping to equip you with the fundamental knowledge you need to be effective bookkeeper. We'll review the accounting equation, which shows how assets, liabilities, and equity all come together on the balance sheet. You'll decide whether to record transaction as revenue or expenses, helping you confidently navigate the financial landscape. Lastly, you'll explore the assumptions and principles that underpin the financial integrity and accuracy of your client's books. Get ready to take your bookkeeping skills to the next level.
Alrighty, thank you, Joms. So are you ready for this? The accounting equation? Are you sure you're ready for this? It's not gonna be easy, but I'm sure we have a really good material and we all can learn with everybody's help. So accounting equation, it will show us how assets, liabilities, and equity all come together on the balance sheet. Ayun na, si balance sheet, nagpapaano na siya. It's introducing itself, right? And now you'll be confronted with a decision to whether to record the transaction as revenue or expense. And it was this particular topic is going to help us to confidently navigate the financial landscape. Grabe naman yung landscape. Lastly, we'll explore the assumptions and principles that underpin the financial integrity and the accuracy of our clients' books. Right? Are we ready to take our bookkeeping skills to the next level? Are we ready? Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Let's go.
ready.
Let's go. Bookkeeping glossary. As you work through this learning experience, you can refer to the bookkeeping glossary for definitions of any terms you don't know. So the glossary, you can pin this, let's not go through this because it's going to be a lot, right? But there are terminologies that we may want to refer to the glossary, or if you have a phone with you, use your best friend Perplexity if some terminologies don't make sense, right? Or appear to be too complex. Alrighty. Now, 2 out of 7, the accounting equation. Right. Sinong gusto mag-volunteer about the accounting equation? Right, Marivic, go ahead.
What is the purpose of the accounting equation? What is the accounting equation? The accounting equation is simple yet powerful concept that helps us understand how business resources are financed.
All right, thank you there, Marivic. So this is the accounting equation. The accounting equation is assets is equal to liabilities and equity. So that's the very basic accounting equation in accounting. Accounting equation nga, di ba? So asset is equal to liabilities and equity. Kaya minsan, if you remember back in the days, kung hindi balance yung balance sheet mo, maybe because your equation is incorrect, right? So hindi yung record mong liabilities and equity ay hindi equal sa yung asset, or it could be expressed differently, right? So asset could be, or yeah, it could be expressed as asset minus equity is going to be your liability, right? Or your liability could be your asset minus the equity, right? There are a lot of ways to express the accounting equation. And I think this will be covered in detail in this material. Right, so let's cover first assets. Who wants to read about assets? Anybody? Right, Mylene, go ahead.
Okay, assets. Anything the business owns of value or a resource of value that has the potential to be transformed into cash.
Right, so anything the business owns, right? Hindi hiniram, hindi pinahiram, pagmamay-ari ng business, right? And it's very important in this definition. Maraming definition ng asset, right? Like it could be expressed a lot differently depende sa sino nagbigay ng definition, right? So if you are studying accounting, yung textbook could provide a different definition on the asset, right? But I like this definition because it says here that that resource has a value that can be transformed into cash, right? Pwedeng ibenta or pwedeng i-transform into cash. So what are those assets? For one, cash, right? Cash is an asset. Do you agree? Accounts receivable is an asset. Bakit? Pwede mong i-convert yan into cash once you collect, right? Fixed assets like your computer, for example, right? Pag binenta mo yan, it can be turned into cash, right? So those are assets. And again, assets are owned by the business. It's owned by the business, okay? Right. If assets is owned by the business, what about liabilities? What are those? Or what is a liability? Ako na magbasa kasi konti lang. Sayang naman yung moment. Liabilities are what the business owes to others, right? Owes, meaning utang nung business, right? So kung yung asset ay pinahiram, ano yon? Asset or yung asset ay pinahiram. Yung equipment ay pinahiram, ano yon? Asset yon or liability? Pinahiram. Let's say for example, bumili kayo ng sasakyan. Bumili ng sasakyan yung business pero utang. Paano yon? So ano yung sasakyan? Is it an asset or a liability?
Liability.
Asset and liability.
Liability.
Asset and liability.
Right.
Asset.
It can be an asset and a liability at the same time. Right? Kasi may down payment ka doon, 'di ba? Mag-down payment ka. So anyway, saka muna natin i-cover yung sasakyan na inutang. Cover muna natin yung equity. So equity naman is the owner's stake in the business and how much they have invested or withdrawn. Right? So ito yung stake ng business, right? This is what the business owner owns. So yung sasakyan, for example, cost say 100,000, right? So how do you put that into context dito sa asset equals liabilities and equity, right? So bumili yung business owner ng sasakyan worth 100,000. Pero utang yon, but the business owner pays 20% down payment. So 20,000, meron siyang cash na 20,000. Pumunta siya ngayon sa dealership, bumili siya ng sasakyan. Binayad niya yung 20,000 na down payment, tapos yung 80%, yung 80,000 will be paid on installment. Right? So, if I may ask you, ano yung value ng asset ng client? Magkano pala yung asset ng client? Is it 80,000? Is it 20,000? Is it 100,000?
100.
100. All right, very good. Tapos magkano yung utang ni client?
80.
80,000. Tapos magkano yung kanyang equity doon sa sasakyan?
20.
20.
All right. So liability 80, equity 20, total is 100.
100,000.
Yun yung value ng asset. Kaya ganun yung equation. Right? So 80 na liability na utang niya, 20 yung cash na kinonvert to equity ng vehicle. If you total them together, that is the equivalent amount for the asset. Copy? So
Okay.
asset, and that asset can be turned into cash kasi pwede na rin ibenta yon, right? So that falls under the definition of the potential for it to be transformed into cash. Right, that was a simple example. Na-copy naman, na-intindihan naman ng lahat. Meron bang na-confuse?
Noted.
Copy po.
All right.
Copy po.
Great. Right. So the accounting equation is a foundation of the balance sheet. A balance sheet is the accounting equation displayed as a financial statement. It is a core financial document for business. Right? We will tackle more as we go along. And kaya nga, magandang we study them together because maraming tayong CPA dito. And then we can help you gain more understanding of the terminologies by giving you actual examples. Okay? So, kasi kung kayo lang mag-isa nag-aaral nito, maybe it could be boring. Pangalawa, it could be daunting. Pangatlo, it may not resonate well with you kung kayo nga lang mag-isa, right? So, that's the beauty of it, of us learning this together. Do you guys agree? Or do you feel like I can learn it on my own? I know how to tackle accounting equation by myself. I'm intelligent already. Charet. So, yan, knowledge check tayo. Tulungan niyo ako dito. Sinong gusto magbasa? Chanelin, go ahead.
As you scrutinize the balance sheet for an important client, you notice that the total assets of the business don't match up with the combined value of liabilities and equity. The accounting equation, which should always be in balance, seems incorrect. What's the correct accounting equation? The answer is assets equals liabilities plus equity.
All right, perfect. But what about this? Is this wrong? Assets plus liabilities is equal to equity. What makes this wrong?
Plus, it should be minus.
Right. So asset minus liabilities is equity, correct? What about the third choice? Asset plus equity is your liability. What makes it wrong?
Asset minus equity.
All right. It should be asset minus equity, then your liability. What about this? Asset is equal to liability, or sorry, asset is equal to equity minus liabilities. Is it right?
No.
Wrong.
Addition.
It should
Equity
be
plus liability.
equity plus liability. So having said that, the correct answer is this one. Correct? Agree?
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
in agreement? Good job.
Yes.
Yes po.
Yes.
All right. That's right. You can maintain accurate financial records and assess the business's financial health by ensuring that the equation is correct and always in balance. Assets equal to liabilities plus equity. And mind you guys, this thing, while it could be very daunting now for those without accounting background, with the use of QuickBooks Online, you will not have this problem. You will not have problem na hindi nagbabalance yung balance sheet, right? Because it will not let you post a transaction na mali-mali, right? So it will always balance. Your balance sheet would always balance. But just because balance yung balance sheet nyo, that means it's already correct. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be correct, right? But what I'm saying is that when you're using accounting software such as QBO, you will not have problem with this. Asset equals liabilities plus equity is not going to be a problem. But why do you need to understand this, right? Again, because kahit tingin nyo balance yung balance sheet nyo, na-record lahat yung transaction, it may not necessarily be correct, right? So sometimes you say it's complete, but it may not be accurate, right? Or sometimes it could be, pwede bang maging accurate but hindi complete? I don't think so, right? Paano siya naging accurate kung hindi siya complete, right? So that's what we're gonna be tackling as we go along. Right, so let's take it lightly. Let's play this video. Let's watch it together.
The accounting equation. Assets equals liabilities plus equity sits at the core of bookkeeping and accounting. Everything is built around this equation. The essence of the accounting equation is that the left side perfectly balances the right side. A business's assets can never equal more or less than the sum of its liabilities and equity. If the right side goes up, so does the left side. If the right side goes down, so does the left side. This symbiotic relationship between each side of the equation is the foundation of all financial statements, and is shown most clearly on a business's balance sheet, which is a snapshot of their financial position at a given moment. Taking your time to fully understand the accounting equation will help you. Explain why events happen the way they do in the accounting process. Communicate the reasons behind financial decisions or discrepancies, and spot errors or inconsistencies in your accounting software. Going at it alone is a recipe for disaster. So take the time you need to gain clarity and confidence as you navigate the bookkeeping world like a pro.
Right. So accounting equation is like your yin and yang. It's like give and take. So you give, you take, you take, you give, right? It's always going to be balanced, right? In business, when nagbenta ka, you receive cash, but you give away goods or services, right? So there's give and take. Hindi pwedeng give, and give, then take lang ng take. Such is life, right? And also is accounting, right? So it's always going to be give and take, always, right? So di pwedeng get lang tayo ng get. And so it's in relationship, right? In a relationship, when it's one way, it's not gonna last, right? It's gonna collapse. It's gonna end because that's not how it's supposed to be, right? Do you guys agree? Nakaka-relate ba?
Agree.
Right? And so it's accounting. Right. So let's move along parts of the accounting equation. Let's review the dynamic trio of balance sheets: assets, liabilities, and equity. They play a key role in painting the financial picture of a business. So let's select the plus icons to open and learn more. So assets. Who want to read this? Assets. Iba naman. Let's hear from Rihanna. Or how do you say your name? Rihanna or Rina?
Right. Rihanna.
Rihanna. Go ahead.
Assets. Assets are the valuable resources a business owns. Cash accounts, receivable, inventory, investments in other businesses, equipment, intellectual properties such as patent. You name it. They're the business superpowers, ready to be used to generate profits and fuel growth.
Right. So examples of assets, again, are cash, accounts receivable, inventory, investments in other businesses, could be equipment, could be intellectual property. There's a lot more, right? But classic examples are cash, right? Di pwedeng walang cash ang business, right? Di pwedeng walang inventory kung you're into merchandising, right? And they are the superpowers, right? They are what you use to earn income, right? So mga bookkeepers, anong assets natin as bookkeepers or tax preparers? What are our assets? Sige nga, example. But we're in
Knowledge and
business.
skills.
Services.
Services. Oh, asset ba yung services? Sabi dito, assets are valuable resources a business owns. Right. So, knowledge. Asset yung knowledge. Does it fall under this definition? So if we strictly focus on the definition of what an asset is, it's a valuable resource a business owns. So cash, accounts receivable, inventory,
Laptop.
investments. So again, as a bookkeeper, di na tayo lalayo, right? So kasi bookkeeping is a business, right? It's a business. So what are our assets?
Laptop.
What are the laptop, for example? Yes, can we be a bookkeeper without laptop? I don't think so, right? Who uses paper and pen to do bookkeeping nowadays? Cash on hand. What else? Sabi ni Lorraine, QBO subscription. Asset kaya yon? QBO subscription. Do you own QuickBooks?
Liability.
Expense.
Okay, building. Oh, si Ali may building na siya, may sarili siyang building for bookkeeping services. What else? Cash and receivables. As a bookkeeper, US bookkeeper, do you have receivables? Do you think so?
Equipment.
Home office, yeah. Furniture and fixtures. Vehicle. Right, as a bookkeeper, do you need vehicle? Maybe you work from your car? Could be prepaid rent, prepaid insurance. Oh, wow, bongga si Dexter, may insurance as a bookkeeper. Bank savings, investment, office chair. Yeah, sabi ni Geraldine, yes daw to meet your clients kung local bookkeeping, Kasi parang ang hirap naman mag-card to the US to meet your US clients. Unless you have a jet, di ba? Private jet. Asset yon. Office supplies, it could be. QB account. Yung QB account, parang kanina yan QB subscription. Is that an asset? Unless you own QuickBooks, it could be an asset. But if you don't own QuickBooks and you pay QuickBooks for a subscription, that may not necessarily be an asset, right? Because again, it falls back into the definition of an asset. It should be a valuable resource that a business owns, right? So if you're a subscriber, you don't necessarily earn. Kasi bakit ka nagsasubscribe kung own mo yung property, right? So that means you don't own it. Intangible assets, goodwill, reputation, unless you can value your reputation, that could be an asset, right? What about services? Yung ano natin, yung skills, can that be an asset? Do you think?
Yes.
Okay, because you own naman your skills, right?
Intangible asset.
But can you value your skills and you can put that in the balance sheet?
Based on pay rate.
Sige, try natin i-analyze. Let's say, sabi natin asset yung ating skills, right? And let's use the accounting equation in that. So 'di ba sabi ng video, kapag may na-add sa side ng asset, dapat may ma-add din sa side ng liabilities and equity, correct? Para mag-balance. Right? So sabihin natin, let's focus on this argument. Asset yung skills. How much will you value your skills?
Service po.
So services. So how much will you value your services so that malagay mo yan sa iyong balance sheet?
Your pay rate.
So yung knowledge mo, you cannot value that unless you render a service. Correct? Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So hindi siya asset, 'di ba? Hindi siya asset. Kasi kung sinabi mo, yung asset, yung skills ko ay ang value nito $100,000. Ilalagay ko to sa balance sheet. Asset, skills, 100,000. Anong corresponding liability and equity mo niyan?
Equity siya.
Ipa-trademark daw para maging asset.
Sabihin din natin equity siya. So equity din yung 100,000.
Ipa-trademark daw para maging asset.
Bali, ang kabangga niya, yung cash na marireceive mo.
Oo nga, but kailangan
That's
mo pang
income,
i-render
P&L.
yung service, di ba? So,
That's profit and loss.
ang argument natin kasi is that kanina, question natin asset or topic natin asset. Actually, we're still in asset. So, ang sagot kasi ng iba sa atin was knowledge, skills is an asset. Do we agree with that as a definition, as per the definition that we're seeing on the screen right now? Na asset are valuable resources a business owns. Examples are cash accounts, accounts receivable, inventory, investments, and they are superpowers that generate profits and fuel growth. So, if our skills are an asset, saan sa definition siya nagfo-fall? Business owns, it is owned by the business, malamang, because it's possessed by the owner, right? And it's a superpower because it can generate profits, right? But then, how will you account that in the accounting equation nga, di ba? Intangible asset. So, kung intangible asset siya, skills, intangible asset, let's say ganito, nagsa-start pa lang tayo mag-bookkeeping kasi nag-aaral pa nga lang tayo, di ba? So, magre-record tayo ngayon ng ating asset, di ba? So, pwede ba nating sabihin, At the start of my business today, i-value ko yung asset ko 100,000. Can I go to my books, to QuickBooks, and say asset scales 100,000? Can I do that? Do you think you can do that?
No.
Hindi, di ba? Right? Unless you started to render services. That's when you can turn your skills into asset because you will now have either cash or accounts receivable. Right? Hindi siya gaya ng inventory. Di ba? Inventory, you have to have a physical asset that you will resell, and then that would turn into profit. Kasi kapag may inventory ka, meaning may binili ka or may inutang ka. Right? So now you start to have an inventory, and then kung inutang mo yung inventory, you have a liability. Right? Hindi pwede mag-start ka ng business and you would say, oh, I will value my skills at 100,000. I put that in my balance sheet, skills 100,000. Wait lang, anong ilalagay ko sa equity and liability? Hindi na balance yung aking equation. Right? So it's not asset. Do you guys agree? It's not yet an asset. It's a potential, right? It's a potential to become an asset, right? And when does it become an asset? When you start rendering the services. Do you guys agree? So do you guys now agree that as skills, knowledge are not necessarily assets in respect to the accounting equation?
Yes po.
Yes.
All right. Amazing. Mabilis ka
100%
usap.
100% agree.
All right. Now let's move on to liabilities. So I want to read about liabilities. Can I see another hand naman? Parang nasa classroom lang tayo, no? Yes, Anna Marie Onyate. Go ahead.
Liabilities. Liabilities are the obligations the business owes to others. Liabilities can be loans to support the business, mortgage, payroll, sales tax, owed to the government, credit cards, or any other debts that need to be prepaid. They represent the business promises to others.
All right. Thank you there, Anna. So, liability, keyword there is it has to be repaid. Kasi utang, di ba? Kailangan natin bayaran because it's an utang. Right? So, any obligation that the business owes to others. What about liability, the obligation that the business owes to himself? Liability pa rin ba yun? Sabi dito kasi liabilities are obligations that the business owes to others. What about an obligation that the business owes to himself? Is it a liability? If it's not, what is it? It's the equity, right? So kung liability, others yung may-ari niyan, di ba? Sa iba, pagmamay-ari ng iba, hindi mo pagmamay-ari. Di ba? Gaya nung sa car, di ba? Yung 80,000 pag may-ari ng bank 'yon. Right? Hindi mo pagmamay-ari, di utang. 'Di ba yung 20 kanina, yun yung cash mo na pinang down payment mo sa car, yun na yung pagmamay-ari mo. Which is also known as the equity. Right? So keyword again, liability is an obligation that you will pay, that obligation to others that you will need to repay. Simple lang.